Malcolm Brogdon is out 6 to 8 weeks. How does this affect the Wizards in the short and the long term? We're going to talk about that, and we're going to do the New York Knicks preview for tomorrow night's preseason game in New York. Rock with your boy next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again, and I appreciate you guys making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And tonight's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, everybody. Malcolm Brogdon is out 6 to 8 weeks, and he will miss the start of the regular season. So we're going to look at how does this affect the Wizards in the short and the long term, and then we're going to do a preview for tomorrow night's preseason game in New York against the New York Knickerbockers. So let's get into it. This report was actually first put out by Josh Robbins of The Athletic, so definitely shout out to Josh Robbins. Man, if you don't follow him on X, aka Twitter, definitely do so. All right, so this report is from The Athletic, so I'm reading straight from The Athletic. Again, if you don't subscribe to The Athletic, definitely consider it. All right, it says the Wizards' Malcolm Brogdon undergoes surgery to repair a torn thumb ligament. Washington Wizards guard Malcolm Brogdon underwent surgery Tuesday morning in New York City to repair a torn ligament in his right thumb. His return to play timeline will depend on how he responds to treatment, but athletes who suffer similar injuries generally require 6 to 8 weeks of rehab to recover. Brogdon's surgery, first reported by The Athletic, was announced by the team on Tuesday afternoon. The 31-year-old suffered the injury Saturday during a team practice in Montreal. Team officials sent him home Sunday to Washington, D.C. to undergo imaging tests. Obviously, Brogdon came to the Wizards in June in a draft night trade, sending Denny to Portland and sending himself, the 14th pick, who ended up being Bob Carrington, another first-round pick in 2029, and second-round picks in 2028 and 2030. To the Washington Wizards. So, everybody, how does this affect the Washington Wizards in the short term and the long term? Now, in the short term, doesn't affect them too much because it frees up minutes for who? Keyshawn George and Bob Carrington. Obviously, it frees up minutes for Jared Butler. So, you're going to be able to get some minutes to guys who, get them those minutes early. You definitely look at Jared Butler, Bob Carrington, and Keyshawn George, guys where, if you can give them extended minutes now, and give them those, definitely help with their development, then you absolutely go with that, man. So like I said, in the short term, it's not going to be such an issue in the short term because, again, it frees up minutes for Keyshawn George, Bob Carrington, Corey Kispert, frees up minutes on the second unit. Now, long term, how does it affect the Washington Wizards in the long term? Two ways it does so, all right? Number one, he is here to be a mentor. He's here to be that sixth man, be that veteran presence, but be that floor general on the second unit. Definitely want to see what he can do with Keyshawn George, Corey Kispert, and Bob Carrington, but you're missing out on a vet. A guy who's going to be able to run the second unit, a guy who, again, is going to be able to mentor not only Jordan Poole and Bob Carrington, but really be the veteran guard leading the way for the second unit. And I think that in the long term, you need veteran presence in the second unit. Yeah, you have Rashawn Holmes, who's going to be back in center, but Malcolm Brogdon is that guy that, that voice for the second unit. That guy is really going to dictate pace for the second unit. So like I said, in the long term, the bench unit is going to feel his presence not being there in the long term. So like I said, 6 to 8 weeks, yes, he will miss the beginning of the regular season, but, definitely he's going to be able to play sometime this season. And it really goes into the second point. How else does it hurt the Wizards in the long term? Now, look, 6 to 8 weeks, again, he will miss some time, regular season time, but he will still have time to show what he can do and build that trade value up. But let's be real. What is the biggest knock against Malcolm Brogdon? Look, he's a former Sixth Man of the Year award winner, former UVA guy. He's definitely a baller. But availability is your best ability. And injuries have taken a toll on Malcolm Brogdon over the years. And now, he hasn't even played a preseason game. He's already down with injury. And like I said, you really, hand injuries, practice, they happen. But here's the thing. When your biggest knock, when the biggest criticism about you as a player is you not being available due to injury time and time again, then this definitely brings up red flags for potential trades, man, and potential teams. Because again, one of the few red flags when it comes to Malcolm Brogdon is his injury history. We know he can play. He played the two. He played point guard. He's a guy who could definitely score at a high level. He's definitely a veteran-minded guard, man. Like I said, he's a guy who, looking at it from a veteran presence, a voice in the locker room, a mentorship type of standpoint, he's very important for the Washington Wizards. Now, we all know that he's probably not going to be here past this season, and he's probably not be here past the deadline. But here's the thing, again, kind of what I just said is that the injuries do bring concerns to prospective teams. So, like I said, we'll see 6 to 8 weeks. It's not going to keep him out long term, and again, he's going to be able to free up minutes for Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington especially, Jared Butler. But in the long term, man, you definitely want to see him get back and be that veteran guy for the bench unit, because I think, with him not playing, it doesn't take a hit on the starting five. Even though we're going to see a lot of different lineups, I think that the lineup we saw with preseason game 1 is probably going to be your opening night starting five. I mean, we all know that Jordan Poole's going to be a starter at the 1, and it looks like Bilal could be a really nice fit in the backcourt with him at the 2. So, like I said, the lineup you saw with the first preseason game, if I'm willing to bet, man, it's going to be the lineup you're going to see opening night. But you will see different lineups throughout the preseason and training camp, man. So it doesn't really affect the starting five right now. But like I said, the ill effects and what it could do to the Washington Wizards is going to be in the long term. His trade value, like I said, could take a hit, could not. He definitely has to show that he can be healthy after this injury going into the regular season, man. So once he comes back, he has to show that he can stay on the floor, because if not, it will affect his trade value. And we're going to have another scenario where, kind of like Tyus Jones, man, where you're going to have a veteran guy that you're probably going to let walk for free and not get any kind of assets back. So that is obviously the worst case scenario. You want to see the team get something back from Malcolm Brogdon. He's a veteran guard who does have trade value, especially for a contending team. Down to crunch time, you need that one piece to add to, team that's, looking to make a move in the postseason. I think Malcolm Brogdon is a really nice piece. Like I said, I think he definitely will have value, but the biggest knock is what? His availability, which has always been a question mark with Malcolm Brogdon. His injury past has been an issue. And if you look to build up his trade value and make him attractive to prospective teams, then when he comes back, he has to hit the ground running, has to show that he can stay on the floor and help the Wizards, get that trade value. Because like I said, if he continues to show issues with the injury bug, then you can see a scenario where potentially he could walk for free. And like I said, with most of these veterans on the team, there's some guys on the team who are vets right now that are kind of gray area vets. They could be part of the future, or if the trade value gets high enough, they could be moved. And I'm looking at Saddiq Bey, looking at possibly Jordan Poole, even though it looks like more and more as time goes, Jordan Poole is being considered a future piece. As time goes by, a lot more and more. But, Saddiq Bey, what is the future hold for him in DC long term? And the same thing, Corey Kispert, even though I think that both of them could be future pieces off, definitely going forward for the Wizards, man. So, like I said, Malcolm Brogdon, it is a hit. You lose a veteran voice in the locker room, even though he's still going to be around the team, but you do lose a mentor. But I think in the short term, it's not going to be felt as bad as the long-term prospect, and what effect his injury is going to have at the Washington Wizards. And like I said, if it's a long, 6 to 8 weeks, we'll see. But it definitely behooves him to hit the ground running and show that he can stay on the floor coming back. Because if he continues to have these injury issues here in DC, then you could possibly see a scenario where, kind of like Tyus Jones, where you may walk for nothing. And then, look, his price tag is 22.5. So like I said, you look at it from the lens of an opposing GM. If I'm willing to take on 22.5 in salary, even if it's just a short-term expiring contract, then I need a guy who's going to be on the floor. And if he's not going to be on the floor, I'm not going to make that move, man. I'm not going to absorb that contract, even if it is the short term, because it's still very risky move. Because if he gets hurt again, and if I do trade for him, then I got a guy who, again, his price tag is 22.5, and he's going to be hurt on my roster, and then that's salary cap room that I could have sent for another player who can help me down the stretch, getting ready for the playoffs. So looking at it from the opposing GM's kind of lens, man, and look, his availability is key going forward. So, all right, we're going to look at tomorrow night's game against the New York Knicks in NYC and my keys to victory. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live, play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You can start with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right, everybody, let's get back into it. Now, tomorrow night, the preseason game number 2. So let me pull it up real quick, everybody. We're gonna look over my 3 keys to victory and certain other stats going forward. Because like I said, overall 5 preseason games. So we have preseason game number 2 coming up at the Mecca, aka Madison Square Garden. All right, so tomorrow night at New York, they would be playing the New York Knickerbockers at 7:30. Definitely, they will be showing the game obviously on the Monumental Sports. So definitely tune in for that. All right, so let's see. They don't really have betting odds. It's preseason, but I mean, let's see. All right. So my 3 keys to victory, real quick, everybody, for tomorrow night's game against the New York Knicks. Number 1, Kyle Kuzma has to get started. He's got to get started. He had a really slow night last time. Really bad shooting game. He just never really got started, man. Really nice alley-oop dunk, but like I said, he just never really got started. Going forward this season, man, Kyle Kuzma is that guy. He's scoring option number 1. We got to see him get going. Especially against a team like the Knicks, man, because the Knicks are a perspective. I mean, no, not really perspective. They are a playoff team in the Eastern Conference. So, when you're at an up-and-coming team like the Wizards, when you want to kind of gauge where you're at, you want to play teams like the New York Knicks hard, man. You really do. You want to play them. You really want to try to win this game because it shows where you're at as far as your culture of the team, man. In my opinion, yeah, we're rebuilding, but you definitely want to play teams like the New York Knicks really hard, man. Because again, if your prospects are to eventually be a good team in the Eastern Conference, then you got to beat the teams that are already those dog teams in the Eastern Conference. So I definitely want to see Kyle Kuzma get going. Definitely want to see shoot high percentage shots, but definitely be that scorer. Let his scoring touch open up other opportunities for other people, right? With his ability to drive to the basket with his size, man, and really get to the free throw line. Once he becomes that focal point of the defense, he's going to open up opportunities for other guys such as Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr. Definitely helped Jordan Poole and Valanciunas get their pick and roll popping. But most of all, with overlapping minutes, man, he's going to be able to utilize guys on the outside such as Corey Kispert. So, again, looking at Kyle Kuzma, we need you to be that scorer. We need you to be that number 1 scoring option, and definitely use your scoring, to collapse defenses and utilize other people on the outside and get other people involved and get going. Especially looking at Bilal and Alex Sarr and Corey Kispert when he rose with the second unit. All right. Number 2, let JP13 do his thing. All right, so this past game, man, 16 points, 6 assists. From the standpoint of efficiency, Jordan Poole was efficient. I mean, he had a really good shooting night. I mean, he shot a couple deep threes. He was on his game, man. He showed that he's ready to roll this year. He's coming in this season with a chip on his shoulder, and he's ready to put the league on notice and show because he shot well and he shot efficient. Assist numbers, right where I want him to be, 6 assists. Now, would I want more? Absolutely. I would love to see 7+, man, because I would love to see him be more of that distributor. Even though we know he can score at a high level, and he's definitely the second scoring option on this team behind Kyle Kuzma. They are definitely the 1-2 punch for this team this season, man. But we know you can score JP13, but find ways to get other people involved, and he did. He utilized his vision, and he was able to set people up. He was able to set up Alex Sarr a couple of nice dunks, man. He was able to find Bilal Coulibaly on the outside. He was able to get things started on the pick and pop and the pick and roll with Jonas Valanciunas. He was able to, when minutes overlapped, able to utilize shooters like Corey Kispert and Keyshawn George on the outside. So, like I said, definitely want to let Jordan Poole do his thing. Once you gave him the keys to the offense, give him that rope to make those mistakes, man. But definitely want to, let him do his thing. Let him be that scorer. And when people focus on him being that scorer, kind of like Kyle Kuzma, use your offensive game to open up opportunities for other people. And I think that if Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole both do that, not only will they both have really good seasons individually, I think as a team, you're going to see progression from Bilal Coulibaly. You're going to see significant progression from Alex Sarr. You're going to see, people like Corey Kispert eat. Keyshawn George has progressed. Bub Cranston is going to get better. I mean, so like I said, we know they're going to be those scorers. And I don't think it's really a right idea to say don't be those scorers, but utilize those traits, those skill points to open up opportunities for other people. And I think that, those are both areas that, both Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma both want to improve because they both know that for them to succeed individually and for this team to progress and really hit that potential as a team, they got to find other ways to get other people involved and using their scoring prowess to, again, take the attention from the defense and find those touches for Bilal and Alex Sarr, but also, learning to collapse defense, get to the line. Both of them, I'm telling you, if Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole attack the basket, attack, and get to the charity strike, is going to open up opportunities for a lot of other people, and you're going to see significant progress from other guys like Be Cool, like Alex R, etc. So, like I said, number 2, definitely let Jordan Poole cook. Number 3, defense. Man, look, defense. I feel like I've said this the entire time I've been a host here at Locked On Wizards. Defense. They have to find their defensive identity. They have to be able to. They have to fine tune every area as far as team defense. They have, perimeter defense has to get better. Paint defense was not bad, but you definitely want to see them a lot more communication in the paint. Team communication on the defensive end. They have to get better. They have to communicate. When mismatches, they have to get better communicating. Transition, again, get down the court. So definitely want to see them start to solidify their defensive identity with this game. Because like I said, the Knicks are a playoff team. They're a team that, again, they just added Cat. They added Mikal Bridges. They still have OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson. The list goes on. This is a team that wants to challenge in the Eastern Conference. And I think that if you really want to measure where this team's at, we're in year 2 of a rebuild, but you want to play tough. The whole thing about culture, the whole thing about, solidifying the standard, which, head coach Brian Keefe did, but holding people to a standard is playing hard, playing to win. And we said this last year, you play to win. Now we know that this team's not going to win a lot of games, but the thing is, you play to win. Now, when you have that culture, we have that standard, which they did last season, especially in the second half. Because, look at the first half. Like I said, I'm not going to kick a guy while he's down. I'm not going to continue to harp on Wes Unseld Jr. But we know that in the first half of last season, they were waving the white flag. We're like 5 to 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Under head coach Brian Keefe, you didn't see that. You saw a team that fought to the end, that fought to win every single game they played, and they came together as a unit. They came together as a team. So I think that, again, going back to culture, you play to win the game, and that's what I'm saying. That goes back to defense, solidifying and establishing a defensive identity. I think they need to go ahead and do that with this game. Really show what is this team's identity on the defensive end, and what kind of team is this going to be this season? Because, like I said, a lot of people are sleeping on the Wizards, man. They think it is kind of a pushover game. And like I said, if you make it to where they have the defensive identity, where they know that when they come into DC, they're going to get punched in the nose, then you're going to create that culture. You're going to create that identity that is going to pay dividends going forward, man. I'm trying to tell you. Once you have the identity, kind of like the bad boy Pistons, man. Were they the most gifted team from a skill standpoint? No. And they would be probably the first people to tell you. When it came down to them in that dynasty Chicago Bulls team, they knew that Chicago had more talent. They had more athleticism, but they played harder. And so you knew when you went through Detroit, you were going to hit the floor. It was going to be a physical game. So if you want to build a product here in DC, and that's where you start, in my opinion, with the defense, a defensive identity. Let people know that when they roll through DC, you get punched in the nose. And I think that you have to solidify that. You have to establish that this season right now, especially this is the first full season under head coach Brian Keefe. I'm saying success long-term really hinges on solidifying, establishing that defensive identity going forward. So like I said, those are my 3 keys to victory. For the Wizards to get a victory in New York, I definitely believe that, 1, Kyle Kuzma needs to do his thing. He needs to be that number 1 option, man. Definitely do it from a high efficiency standpoint, but definitely want to see him do his thing as our small forward, being a number 1 option. Number 2, let JP13 do his thing. Definitely let him be that scorer, let him attack, and then collapse that defense and utilize not only Corey Kispert, Keyshawn George, Kyle Kuzma, but also get those touches to a couple players that desperately need that progression in Bilal Coulibaly and Alex Sarr. And number 3, defense. Establish a defensive identity. So we're going to get into my itinerary for the rest of the week. We're going to look at we're going to kind of look at the rest of the preseason schedule and what I'm going to cover the rest of the week. And then we're going to go ahead and call it a day, y'all. So, but before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by Gametime. So you guys know, look, I'm a sports fanatic. I go to games all the time. And to me, Gametime is better than all the ticketing apps. I ain't going to name drop nobody, but they're the best. And there's 3 main reasons why I rock with Gametime over their competitors. Well, number 1, Gametime picks. Creation makes it easier to save more on sports tickets, but not only on sports events, but concerts, comedy shows, theater events, etc. What else? Seat views, Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy your tickets so you know you're getting your money's worth. Game time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So look, do yourself a favor. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. I appreciate that. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Become a fantasy basketball expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Josh Lloyd. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, everybody, we're going to kind of look at the preseason schedule going forward and what what the channel's itinerary is, what to expect as far as content-wise going forward. Because like I said, we are ramping up for the regular season. So, again, take a look at the schedule. There we go. All right, so preseason game number 2 is obviously tomorrow night, 7:30 at New York. Friday will be preseason game number 3. We will be at home against the Toronto Raptors. All right, preseason game number 4 will be Monday at Brooklyn, 7:30 against the Brooklyn Nets. And the 5th and final preseason game will be next Friday, October 18th, at home against the New York Knickerbockers at 7 o'clock. Now, the regular season kicks off October 24th at home against the Celtics, man. So, guys, shout out. Let me know who is going to the home opener. But definitely let me know in the comment section if you plan on going to the home opener, because that should be a really good game, man. KP will be back in. Well, I mean, he's hurt, but maybe he'll be in civilian clothes back in the building. So, like I said, the regular season is right around the corner, October 24th. So, like I said, going towards the regular season, we're getting into more predictions with the expected season coming up. Looking at lineups. Like I said, +1 right now, looking at the roster. So there are going to be some moves being made within the next couple of weeks, man. The team does have till the end of the month to sign Corey Kispert to an extension, and then you still have the questions, the team options on Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Johnny Davis. So definitely want to look out for that. So like I said, guys, we are ramping things up. After each and every, not only regular season game, as you know, but preseason game, we will be doing live recaps. So definitely tune in for that. And again, like I said, we're right around the corner from starting this thing up again. So again, looking forward to another season with you guys at Locked On Wizards. So I will see you guys tomorrow night, rolling live, recapping the Wizards matchup versus the New York Knicks in Mecca, aka Madison Square Garden. So I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Everybody have a good evening. Hail to the Wizards and peace. See you guys next time.